All right, this is a midterm critique. We'll start this series here with Keith's photographs. Painting with light certainly has a lot of potential. It can be very interesting to create intriguing images, and I think this is definitely an intriguing image. Mostly, I'm kind of like I love how the light falls off the figure here. We get this highlighting here, and it just becomes this really interesting lighting. And the darkness of the figure, the fact I can't identify it, adds a sort of mystery to it. I think the light painting up here doesn't detract from this. I don't know if it adds too much to it other than it created a really interesting light source for the image, and it's compelling and it's engaging, and I really like that photograph. I think it's just as successful here. It's a little less saturated, but no, probably like the more green one than the less green one. Well, this is a pretty good panning shot. The dog is certainly is in fairly good focus here. I like how the grass has this nice the texture to it, and the lines, these diagonal lines that lead me to the dog, I think are effective. I think it's better, more impactful in black and white than it is in color. Color's not bad, but I think the black and white just had a little bit more to say. I'm not so interested in what's going on here. You know, this seems to be more about the wheel than anything photographic. Just not a very engaging photograph. This one, I don't know. It's okay. It has that hard light of the flash, and it becomes very obvious with the shadows here. You know, even here and the glass. I don't mind that glass one, but these really hard shadows. Plus you know, I don't know if I'm so intrigued with what's going on in the image. Yeah, it's okay, but it's certainly not a photograph that elevates itself. And really, with a photograph, if it doesn't elevate itself, there's just a lot of other ones to look at. I think it's actually slightly more effective in black and white, but still not a great photograph. Come on, are we done here? Okay, well, let's go on to your other set. Look at your first set. Yeah, this one's actually pretty interesting. I kind of like the figure. The light is very warm. Maybe that's just how it is. I don't know if that's a problem or not. I like this thing here, and I don't know if this is a shadow from it or what's going on there. Or if that's a different drawing. It's kind of interesting. I like this perspective looking straight up. It's got some good qualities on it. Again, I don't think it quite elevates it to something that's excellent, but it is interesting, and I think there's a lot of stuff going on. I really like this photograph. There's a nice mystery to it. I love the texture of this stuff up here. See, to me, this is a stunning, compelling photograph. You know, we talked about how the dark, you know, there's black blacks shouldn't ever be black blacks, but this is a case where I think, you know, having most of that information really dark is fine, but there is actually, if we look at it and I turn up my brightness on the screen, I can actually see distinction between the hands and the face, and that adds just a little bit to it. That's not enough so I know who the figure is or it's recognizable, but it does adds a little bit more texture to the image. So I think this one's technically well executed. I think it's visually very compelling, and I'm interested and engaged in it. I like the photograph a lot. This one I think is pretty good too. It's very, you know, becomes very abstract. Almost seems non-objective at first, but I like that. I get this sharpness down here. You know, on these edges, I get the hint of this more objective information. And in the middle, where we tend to look first, I get this sort of almost non-objective information. I get this kind of a sense of its face there. And I like this photograph quite a bit. Yeah, this one's pretty engaging too. You know, I'm trying to figure out, I don't know if I like it as much as the other ones, um, but I think it is technically well done and it's sort of intriguing. I'm not sure. I can't explain why I like or don't like portions of it at this point. Sometimes you just have to take your time and come back to things again and again in there. So, you know, it looks like you're doing fairly well, Keith. You know, as far, you know, you're in the right path and you're, looks like you're understanding things. So hopefully things are coming well for you. And please ask me questions if you do. We will move on here and do another person's critique. It's not the easiest to navigate. I wish there was a shortcut for all that stuff. Maybe there is. I haven't figured that out yet. If so. All right, Tamara. Take a look at these. You're set for the second project. It's all right. Not sure if it's better or worse in color. Actually, grayscale is maybe a little bit better. Not too much significant going on in this image. Doesn't pique my curiosity too much. I almost wonder if I crop out the left half a little bit, like crop right at this line. If that would help a little bit more. I don't know. It's okay, but he's a little soft. Again, and he's a little soft here, but I kind of like the arms flapping. I wish there was maybe just a little bit more sharpness in the face. It is kind of an interesting image. Seems like also there might be a problem with the white balance here. I think I talked a little bit about that in one of my technical videos. It's something that could be adjusted. It just seems a little too warm. Let's see what else we've got here. With the light painting, kind of an interesting form here. For me, the strength of light painting always lies in the fact that there's this objective, non-objective relationship. So, and what I mean by that is I can see something, I recognize something, a person, a place, or a thing, or something like that, and then I have this sort of weird glowing light relating to it. And here, I mean, I get a little bit like there's this hand sort of form, which is kind of interesting, almost like a little wine glass here. I wish I had more of that kind of information amongst this, very dynamic and fluid light. Otherwise, it just becomes a bunch of lines, and I could criticize Pollock, but there's just not enough relationship, not enough to keep me continually engaged with it. I do like it better purple than the red. The red seems just a little too intense. So I think the manipulation was good there, but could have been worse. Now, whoops. I actually like this image in black and white. Very nice panning. I like what happens to the background. He's really sharp. That's a good job there, and I like that sharp, soft relationship, and the running. And I think this actually turns out well. There's a nice balance between him and this tree form over here. I think this is a good photograph. I think I do like it just a little bit better in black and white. Black and white, I think, often just helps simplify things and bring things together. There's not too many garish colors. Quite often that's the problem with our reality. We don't have control over this color scheme, and black and white kind of gets rid of that problem. That's not too much of a problem here. I think I just like this image in black and white. It seems to have a little bit more intensity or something along that line. All right, let's take a look at your other portfolio, your first portfolio. Self-portraits here, focusing more on aperture. Certainly a good technical use of aperture. I like how you thought about the negative space and kind of simplified it on a sheet or a curtain or whatever it is. But it really helps us put this focus on here, and there's nice textures and light here, and I like the autofocus purple toenails, add a nice slight splash of color in this overall fairly monochromatic composition. So I think that's well done photograph. This one is really bold, really bright, and contrasty in hue and value and saturation. And the one thing I don't know is that I never really get a focal point in this, and there's just a lot of information coming at me, and I think that kind of hinders it a little bit. Looks like there's, is this, I don't know if this is a foot or something coming in there. And that I really don't see. I don't know if I orient it different directions, if it would become more obvious. I'm not sure. But I think it needs a bit more of a focal point. Now this is one that's technically way overexposed, but there are things I actually kind of like about it. I think I'd actually want to crop it down. Like if I could crop it down, I'm trying to decide. Oh, come on! Stop freaking out, computer. Crop it down to like some sort of long format. Maybe leave this little bit of information. I kind of like how it just bleeds into this foot, where it's just this white nothingness, and then we just have these feet sort of emerge into it. And I think that could be really effective, but I would crop out some of that white space. I don't know why. Okay. And maybe just I'd add a little bit more contrast, get this black a little bit blacker. And if you go in there and punch up the contrast just a little bit in this image, get those blacks a little bit blacker. Try not to lose any more of the leg, but yeah, I kind of like that photograph. It's one of those where you're outside of the technical things are technically wrong, but I think it's enough to create a compelling image. I would crop it though. And again, I like this image too. I like the shadows here and the light, and I like how we get this sort of weird shaped image because of how the light shapes it. It's not this typical rectangle we think photographically, and I think that's kind of interesting as well. So I like that photograph quite a bit. So, good. All right. That's a good job, Tamara. We'll move along here, and we'll try and get one more person in. Do these critiques in sets.